In our society, most people have become desensitized to violence. The media bring us events from all over the world, from Iraq, from Syria, from small-town America, that have ceased to shock us. Movies, music, even video games glorify violence and create a sense of unreality. We have no actual connection to the violence or to the danger it brings. Serving our country, our veterans were intimately connected to violence and danger in ways that we can only begin to understand. They were not able to hit end game and walk away. Whether they were wounded by artillery and mortar fire, narrowly escaped an ambush, or saw men they served with die, they fully understood the reality of war and realized that they were in very real danger.
We were stopped by mortar and artillery fire, and I was lying at the base of a hedgerow, face down, and all of a sudden I moved something and I felt blood, and I could feel something sloshing around in there. I didn't realize I was hit, and I rolled over, and then that's blood down there. That's what, my gracious, I'm hit. And it was, I believe, a mortar fragment, might have been an artillery fragment. It went through my thigh, all the way through. Luckily, it missed the femur, so it was about a $100 wound. $1 million wound sent you back to the States.
One of the takeoffs, the connecting rods broke, and the plane went in. He was obviously killed, and before he went in, he radioed the tower, says, "Tell my wife I love her."
I was in the Battle of the Iodine Valley, and it was one of the fiercest battles of the war. The enemy had practically surrounded the 1st Cav infantry like a horseshoe, and when we went in, we knew that we were going to be shot at.
Because me and another guy got pinned down on a hill, got ambushed and got left there, and they were called in airstrike.
I'm sitting there and thinking, gosh, that country down below looks just like any other country I've flown over. It doesn't look any different. And all of a sudden there's a big explosion right off my wing, you know. It was flak. And I said, uh-oh, this is war. And that's when I woke up to the fact that I was at war.
Yeah, it don't leave you, because you were just about that close. I mean, we just got off that hill and they napalmed it and leveled it.
One of my good buddies in basic training, and of course he lived in a neighboring town, he went to Korea when I went to Germany, and of course the truce was signed. And he was in a foxhole, and the guy next to him in the foxhole lit a cigarette, and he was dead. The sniper had gotten him. He said, I couldn't sleep for a week. You know, and he would, every now and then he'd say, you know, you guys were lucky going over to Europe. He said, you don't know what it was like living in a foxhole. I didn't. You know, I did it in basic training, but of course that's a lot different than somebody shooting at you.
Thinking of it now, I would have been scared to death, but at the time, you know, our hearts were pounding, and we were just hoping that we could get in there safely and back out again.
We tend to assume that our veterans' memories are dominated by major events they participated in, landing at Normandy in 1944, or taking fire in the Ia Drang Valley of Vietnam. Without question, most veterans could vividly describe such experiences. But it is often the seemingly small, everyday events that veterans remember most and that have proven to be the most poignant. And for many veterans, what they remember most is the service itself.
At my field was what they called, I found out it was what they called Buzz Bomb Alley. Do you know what Buzz Bomb? Well, they were V1s. there were these flying bombs that the Germans used to launch towards England, and they sounded kind of like an automobile, and you were told you're fine as long as the engine keeps running when it's over your head, you know, it's not going to hit you. So the first time I saw one, I looked at it, you know, and I thought, my gosh, look at that thing. And that night I went to bed, and I'll be darned, if I was laying there, I heard this engine coming. It got right overhead, and it stopped. And I said, oh my God, we're in trouble. And I put my head under the pillow, and I waited, nothing happened. Finally, I come out and looked out the window. It was a Jeep pulled up outside my window.
My dad's not the type of person to cry, but you can always tell when he's about to, because he'll hug you quickly and then run away. Like that's just the way he is. So he did that, and then I instantly knew as soon as I got on the plane, I was like, oh, what am I getting myself into? But then the feeling of when I graduated basic and having my mom right there, my dad couldn't go because he doesn't like flying, but having my mom there and seeing her while I was trying to stand in formation and not look around because we're not supposed to, but seeing her right in the front, all excited, that made me pretty happy.
And I went up to see my mother in the post office, and I went up to the teller's window, and she come over to me, looked at me, can I help you, sir? And I said, God almighty, you don't even know your own kid? And she just looked on her face, and she just about dropped. And it in my mind, it told me, how could I have changed in a year and a half where you don't even know your own kid?
It was a training ground for pilots. And if the pilot didn't make it, they came back dead. And we, as X-ray technicians, had to take the bag and X-ray the body through the bag to find out if they died of drowning or accidental. There would be a level of fluid in their lungs, and we'd stand the table up and you could see the water level. We also had to put a staple through a toe and a tag on the toe as to whether it was H2O or normal.
It was in the paper that I was shot down. They thought I was dead for a while, but I wasn't. I didn't find that out until after I got home. The word was around that I was gone.
I think the most memorable thing was being able to take a group of men off to Desert Storm to serve our country. And I think there wasn't down to the very last person, the very last man, if you will, and woman, we would have gone to off to war instantaneously.
I do remember when I was in Fort Monmouth, there used to be a KP that everybody was assigned to certain times. Every once in a while you would have to serve and do the kitchen work. And that didn't bother me at all. In fact, there was some people didn't like to do it, and so they would pay me to do their job until the commanding officer said, "You can't do that, Martha. That's not done here."
I was in the Philippines, and we had MREs, or meals ready to eat, when we were out in the field training in the jungle for jungle warfare. And we got tired of eating those MREs after a while. So we took a couple cases of MREs and we traded it with the locals. And they slaughtered a hog for us and actually cooked it up for us and buried it in the ground in banana leaves and hot coals. And it was probably some of the best pork I've ever had. And I don't know why that memory sticks in my head. Probably because I was tired of eating MREs for a week and a half.
At the time, we didn't really know that there were a lot of protesters, and that they were very much against the war and very much against the people that fought in the war. I came back in uniform and landed at JFK. I went to the terminal to find out where I was supposed to be going, and the airline person behind the counter saw that I was in uniform, and I was a long ways away from where I was supposed to be going to Rochester, the correct terminal. And he took it upon himself to take a break, and he personally took me over to the other terminal because he said that there's a lot of people that don't like you guys in uniform.
We didn't talk about it. As a matter of fact, I went back to France for the 50th anniversary of the landings with the 29th Division Association. There were 9 busloads of us, and visited the places I'd been and other places where I hadn't been in Normandy, and were welcomed so overwhelmingly by the Normans, and encountered ceremonies and things like that, and brought back memories and tears. And my wife said, "You never cried. Where have these tears been all these 50 years?" And I think a lot of us were in the same situation. We just didn't talk about it.
Veterans have sacrificed a lot by serving our country. While in the military, they cannot enjoy the freedom that we take for granted. They forego the simple pleasures in life, a favorite food, or a favorite place to spend time relaxing. Some sacrifices are more significant. Many of our veterans suffer from PTSD. Many have suffered traumatic brain injury or the loss of a limb. And of course, some of our veterans have given the ultimate sacrifice, the loss of their lives. Sacrifice is also a way of life for the families of veterans who must carry on with life at home while a loved one is away.
I think some of the greatest sacrifices for the military come from the family side. You know, a lot of people think of the veterans that they sacrifice, they make their sacrifices, but there's always, a lot of veterans have a family behind them too. So, you know, the wife makes sacrifices by having to take care of the kids when, like, for example, when I was on deployment, the kids make sacrifices by not having their mother or their father around.
The most difficult thing was being away from home, being away from my boys growing up because of my time that I had to spend away from them on weekends at least once a month, and the long periods of time on active duty.
The strain would be the fact that you were away, and then the responsibility for everything that was taking place at home pretty much had to be with your wife or with your family. It's a little difficult because if you're raising a family, you know, we were at sea a large part of the time. We'd go to sea for maybe 6-8 months before we come back.
When you look at the military, the divorce rate's very high.
It is. It is. The stress of, and the sacrifice that people make. They sometimes sacrifice their family for the mission.
You're really homesick, I guess is the best way to describe it. And you're yearning to be with that person. And so it's a very difficult time. And so it really does affect you emotionally.
I can't even imagine what those troops coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq now are going through, some of them going through the post-traumatic stress.
Sure,
It's got to be horrible.
I went sometimes for weeks at a time without being able to bathe except in our headgear, our helmet.
You no longer have the freedom you had before. Number one. Number two, you're leaving your loved ones and your family and mom's home cooking.
I probably missed food back home, like a good Omaha steak or, I don't know, Chinese food or something.
Buffalo wings.
Buffalo wings, something from Seneca Farms. Just, local foods.
I haven't really seen my brother my little brother in over like a year right now.
There's times, sometimes you just sit and kind of daydream about the things that you wish could be happening, which are not happening.
You have the ultimate sacrifice when they give their lives to them. It's really tough. You know, it's that you can't replace that. You know, once it's gone, it's gone.
Military service often gives veterans the opportunity to see how small the world really is and how much the human experience is universal. Veteran Richard Gillespie found an unexpected link to his Second World War service in Dresden, Germany, right here in upstate New York.
I found out after I got in Clinton Crest that there was a lady that lived there by the name of Ingrid Aldied that was a little girl, or she was a teenager, 17 years old, and she was from Dresden, Germany. And she lived there at the time through the war. She's seen Hitler and Goering and the whole bunch of them. She's seen them all. And but I checked back, and I led a squadron to Dresden at the time she was there, and we bombed the railroad yards. But we hit the railroad yards, and we didn't hit the houses where she was. And I shared that story with her, and we're the best of friends. We're the best of friends. She plays bingo with me every day. Sits right next to me. I said, you know, Ingrid, I bombed your city when you were living there. She says, that's okay. You should have. No, she doesn't hold it against me at all. We didn't hit her house or kill her folks. She got out of Germany, I think, soon after the war. She ended up living in Dresden, right up here in Yates County. You know where Dresden is. She ended up living right there. Isn't that something? It's just one of these crazy stories. It makes you say it's a small world. Yeah.
Oftentimes when we're out and about, we may cross paths with veterans or current military servicemen and women. If you've ever wished there was something that you could do to thank them, our veterans have some suggestions that are meaningful to them.
Usually every time I'm out in uniform, I love McDonald's, don't get me wrong, so usually after work I'll go and get McDonald's. And someone always buys, even through airports, someone always buys my meals. So that's, I mean, I like that, but in a way I don't, because I don't like someone paying for me, but it's great that they appreciate us. So I mean, I've gotten used to that.
I think you can say thank you, which we don't say enough of.
Every year we march in the 4th of July parade down here in Branchport, and I usually carry an American flag, and she carries the. I like to see people stand up out of their chairs. Now, a lot of people don't do that, you know, just in passing, you know, just basic respect.
For the flag.
For the flag.
Not necessarily for us, but for the flag.
And that's what are we going to service for? It's for our nation. It's for the red, white, and blue, which is the flag, you know. And that's the least they could do.
You go into a restaurant, and if you're wearing a cap like this, and people notice it, and they say, thank you for serving. And I always say, I would do it again if I could.
Well, I suppose I should say discounts. No, just to say thank you for your service. I'm happy by that.
I am very proud to be a veteran of the military in the United States of America.
I'm proud to be a United States veteran.
I'm proud to be a United States veteran.
I'm proud to be a United States soldier.
I'm proud of being a United States veteran.
I'm very proud to be a U.S. veteran.
I'm proud to be a United States veteran, especially Navy.
I am very proud to be a member of the United States Army and a retiree from the service.
I'm proud to be a United States veteran.
I'm proud to be a United States veteran.
I'm very proud to have served the country and being a United States veteran.
I'm proud to be a United States veteran.
I'm proud to be a United States veteran. I'm proud to live in this country. If I had a chance to serve again, I definitely would.
I am proud to be a United States veteran.